This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Daisy Friedman about Unholy. How are you, Daisy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you tell me about where the inspiration for this story came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm a triple organ transplant recipient. I had a liver, small bowel, pancreas transplant when I was very young, and I was on a feeding tube in my early childhood. And I'm not anymore, but the film is like very, very much riddled with quotes and real experiences from my family. And I really kind of, as I've gotten older, just sort of started to think more critically about the way my family has kind of calibrated around my experience as a transplant recipient. And the idea sort of started. There's a scene in the film where the grandmother is talking to her in the kitchen about this list that she used to have of all the food she wanted to eat. And that is a real list. I have that list. It's in my basement of my childhood home. Um, and truly, without fail, every single time I go out to a meal with my grandparents to this day, they will bring up said list in a way that's like funny, but also really like hurtful. I think in just like in a way that people don't really know how to actually talk about illness and disability in like a true questioning kind of way, and just kind of in my family has almost turned into like a story or a gimmick. And so I really wanted to kind of unpack that and think about like not only if I was in that place now, but with the experiences I still do have, like what does it look like to have tradition sort of be inaccessible to you? Yeah.
I like that. And I'm sorry you've had some difficult experiences, but glad that they've made their way into this entertaining,
Yeah.
format for reflection and education.
Yeah.
Did something like this happen at a Passover Seder, or was that just like a good, like, representative place for it?
No, it was a good representative place. And I think, I mean, bits and pieces of like the telling stories that I don't really particularly want to be shared, or like pressuring into like eating things that might like hurt my stomach. I mean, I'm in a place right now in my health where like I'm quite healthy. I mean, I have my things, but it's it's more of like a reflection kind of piece, Unholy, and it's much more of like um yeah, it's a seder's a good place to a good ground for drama.
I know that in my family we do seders that are like 7 hours long, but they're
Oh
more,
yeah.
entertaining, and there's a lot of participation, and it's not as much about like what you have to do. But I know that other people have gone to seders where, you have to fill the wine all the way and drink the entire thing, which obviously for people who don't drink could be a difficult conversation to
Yeah.
have, or to finish all of everything. And so I like that this wasn't about the like religiously mandated, but instead the culturally suggested and enforced. So I enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
No, it's very, very interesting to me. And the title also, where did that come from? Unholy.
Yeah, so I was actually just speaking about it earlier. One of my dear friends and mentors, Ashley Eakin, helped me come up with it because originally it was actually called One Matzo Ball or Two. And that is too silly and too shticky and like really didn't quite fit, but I didn't really know what it was gonna be because I'd actually come up with Unholy and then forgot that I came up with it, and then she came up with it, and I was like, amazing idea. But I didn't want something that felt too intense, but I didn't want something that felt not intense enough. But I think settling on Unholy is like sort of how she kind of a much more dramatized way of like how Noah feels in the space, and like that everyone's eyes are on her, and that and that like she can't kind of just be a person and be a Jew, and that she just feels like kind of like, yeah, like religiously dirty in like kind of some ways. Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate that the Hebrew is pretty good, because I feel like we see a lot of films where it's like people are just mangling everything, and very often it's easy enough just to listen to someone do it and try to mimic that. Was that a struggle at all here? And was there any concern you had about that?
I had concern. I definitely had concern. I mean, everyone in the film is Jewish to varying degrees. Um, and so by casting Jewish people doesn't necessarily mean they speak Hebrew, but are the woman who plays the lead, the mother, Laura Patankin, is a phenomenal actor, very religiously learned. So she helped a lot, especially with Noah with the four questions. But it's a funny story. So Danny Burstein, who plays the father, is an incredible actor, obviously, and but he didn't really know that much Hebrew. He was a bit worried, and he was telling me on set, he was like, "Yeah, like I was texting one of my friends, like he sent me recordings of the Birkat Kohanim, the blessing over the children, just to make sure I got it right." And I was like, "That's so cute. Like who's your friend? Like, was it a childhood friend?" And he goes, "No, it was Alex Edelman." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that guy. That's normal. Cool." Um, so I mean, yeah, everyone really like chipped in, and I sent him recordings, and it was very important to me, like that, like exactly like what you said, that it was right and that it wasn't just like saying things, especially because it's kind of the climax of the film.
Well, I do want to talk about disability and representation, but
Yeah,
I'm curious in terms of the Jewish representation, was it just happenstance that everybody turned out to be Jewish, or was that something that was important to you for the casting of the film?
it was very important. I would have been fine if they weren't Jewish, as long as they would put in the effort, but like I know the conversations that are being had in the industry right now. I want to do everything I can to be as authentic as possible in every realm, and like disability authenticity is like very, very important to me. So I kind of was like, why not apply it to this? There's no shortage of Jewish actors. Like I can't even pretend that there is. And so yeah, it was very conscious. It was a conscious thing.
And in terms of the disability piece, I feel like this is something that it's not quite an invisible disability, but it's one that you don't, people don't notice unless it comes up in very, very frequent conversation like this.
Totally. I mean, so I started this really, really wanting Noah to be played by like a feeding tube user, or at least someone who had that experience. It's hard. It's not easy. I my one of my dear friends was an accessibility coordinator on the film. She's has a bunch of chronic illnesses. She has a port, she's on a feeding tube, she's whatever, all these things. And we were originally going to have her play Noah, but it sort of was apparent that she was not stable enough in her health. And unfortunately, this is indie filmmaking. Like we do have to do 12-hour days. Like I'm lucky enough to be in a place with my health that I can do that. I mean, I got pretty sick right after, and I knew that was going to come, but like it was just sort of not a possibility for her to do it. And so I had like a serious kind of moral dilemma about that, because I had made a film previously and it was authentically cast, and there was absolutely no way that I would have done that differently. But we found Olivia Nikonin, who plays Noah, and Sophie and I actually had this Zoom with her to do casting. And after she was done, after she read, Sophie was like, like I believe that she's sick more than I believe that I'm sick, like because she's just such a good actor. And I was like, great, then we're gonna do it. Like that's what we're gonna do. Um, the one time it posed a problem was the shot of the feeding tube itself. And we were going to have Sophie come in and be a body double, but she was unfortunately hospitalized during the weekend that we shot. So I was like, sort of like, had this dilemma of like, do we put it on Noah, or do we put it on Olivia, who's never had this experience, or do we cut the shot? And both sounded like really shitty options to me, because it's one of the most important shots in the film, I think. So I did it. And I put it on the like the little scar where I used to have the same tube, and it was a weird experience, but it was a good way for like, and no one's gonna know that, like unless I tell them. We didn't put it in the credits purposely, but like I don't want to draw attention to it, but like I know and everyone else knows, and I think it's a good talking point for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wanted to definitely go the extra mile to make it authentic, and it looked better. Like I got the little divots, I got the little like stitches. It looks great. Yeah.
I think the film has good beats and kick for the short that it is, but is there a feature in mind? Is there something more to this story, or is this it?
I think this is it for now. We are Olivia and I, as well as Ariel, who's the producer, her production team, Sarah Nocturna, we're working on a feature that's about similar themes, but much more in the psychological thriller space. But no, this is the end of the road for now.
Not like a Passover psychological
No,
thriller.
that would be crazy.
I'm in for that if that's what's
Honestly,
happening, but it might
yeah.
be pretty terrifying. Religious horror is pretty scary, you know?
Yeah, there's the new one about the Mormons. Like, let's bring the Jews. Like, yeah.
That would be pretty great. What are you anticipating for Sundance and just that whole experience?
I don't know. It's my first Sundance. It's my second short. I'm really excited. I mean, I think just to like be sort of honored in this way for a film that's so deeply personal and so like resonant for the disability community, the chronic illness community, like it's a really beautiful indicator that like these are stories that people really do want to see no matter what like the big scary executives want you to think. Like this really matters, and I think to be able to do it at also such a young age. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm a senior in college. I'm 21 and I believe one of the youngest directors there, if not the youngest, and that is like it's not lost on me. Like my first experience out of college is going to be Sundance. Like that's really truly crazy. And I think like being able to step into that as a starting point in my career, and also like carrying the stories of all of the other like people in the chronic illness community and the disability community like into this experience is something that I'm also really like thinking about and trying to do. But also not trying to put that much pressure on myself, but also a little bit. um, but yeah, so I'm excited. I know it's going to be a whirlwind.
I will say I love Sundance. It's one of my favorite festivals, and there's really nothing like it, and so I'm sure it'll be really great. Are there other filmmakers or films that you have your eye on that you'd like to try to see if you have time while you're there?
Yeah, I mean, speaking about in the disability space, Reed Davenport's Life After, I'm really looking forward to. Reed and I, he's been a really kind mentor. We got coffee about a year ago just to talk about disability in film. He's amazing. I'm really excited to see oh God, all that's left of you. I think that's a bit really anticipated one. I'm really excited about that. There's also a lot of great young female directors. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You by Mary Broadstein. Very excited for that. Kind of like it seems so interesting. Yeah, there's a few, and of course, like the shorts as well. I know there's so many great ones. A lot of my friends worked on Roxy Sorkin's Swollen, so I think that should be a trip. I know it's in the Midnight's block, so that'll be a fun time as well. Yeah,
Well, I had a great conversation with Reed and a producer from the film a few days ago, so that one is another good one. You're in great company there. So,
looking forward to it.
but I hope it's a really fantastic experience. Thank you for making this film, and I'm excited. I hope about this new whatever's coming with the that, and start working on the Passover one also. I think that'll be
Oh
a
yeah,
good
oh yeah, it's coming. It's
terrifying moment.
starting now.
Well, thank you so much, Daisy. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you. Have a good one.